Hey fans, take your seat in the stands. For the next hour, it's the Demetrius Sports Show. He has local sports scores, interviews, and more. Brought to you by Southern Electronics, your Radio Shack dealer in Kilmarnock, by Wachovia Securities, by Beatley Custom Cabinets, by Lee's Restaurant, and by Bill Hudgens Pontiac GMC. And now, your half-court, 50-yard line seat for sports with your host, Demetrius Means.
And thank you very much, and welcome to the Demetrius Means Show here on Windy 105, WNDJ FM 104.9 on your radio dial, coming at you live. Demetrius Means, your host, along with
James Griffin.
And we also have in the studio a special guest all the way from New York City. He is 6'9", my brother Andre Means, and also on the Wheels of Steels, the engineer on this morning is Carter Mills. Well, thank you, Carter, for being with us this morning. James, good morning to you. What's happening, buddy?
Hey, man, everything's good on Tobacco Road. I'm enjoying life.
And as I mentioned, we have my brother Andre Means, who is in the studio today. But before we get to him, we will be talking about the NCAA. Excuse me, let me back that up for a second. We'll be talking about Gary Sheffield has been cleared by Major League Baseball. There will be no discipline against him from that incident a week ago. Iron Mike Tyson is coming back. He says he will cause a train wreck in his next fight. And also UVA, new coach Dave Lateo pledges that the Cavaliers will be a championship team in the near future. And before we get to all of that, let me just say hello and give a little background on my brother Andre Means from New York City. Andre, you're in town for about a week. Appreciate you coming down and glad you can join me here on the Demetrius Means Sports Show.
Thanks for inviting me, Demetrius.
Andre, just a little bit background on my brother Andre. He's a graduate of Susan E. Wagner High School in Staten Island, New York. And after he graduated, Andre was offered 170 scholarships from a number of different colleges. And Andre, so many scholarships, you don't hear too much about that, especially that many, 170. Obviously, that showed that you was a good ball player. I know that in high school you averaged, I think it was 19 points a game?
Yes.
And how many rebounds?
15.
Okay. Before I say anything else, what do you think about the Northern Neck in Kilmarnock?
I'm having a good time here. Leaving New York and just coming to the country and just relaxing and smelling that good air. So I'm having a good time.
So different air from New York City as opposed to here in the country.
Oh, yeah, different air.
You can breathe down here, right?
I can breathe, and it's good to see family.
All right. Now, I know you went to the University of Utah, and you transferred and went to Sacred Heart University.
Yes.
Which is in Bridgeport, Connecticut. And while you were at Sacred Heart, you did something that a lot of players don't do, or I should say many players have not done. You grabbed 1,009 rebounds in 2 seasons. How incredible was that for you?
Well, when I first transferred to Sacred Heart University, a lot of the players there were saying, well, Andre, this is going to be your job, because they had scorers and they needed someone to rebound and block shots. So that was my job. I grabbed 1,009 rebounds. I led the nation in rebounding my junior year, and I averaged 16 points, 0.1 carooms a game.
You went to Utah to begin with. You transferred from Utah to Sacred Heart, which is in Bridgeport, Connecticut. Why the transfer?
Well, being young at the time and being out in Utah and being away from family, that had a lot to do with it. And I wanted to be back close to home. So that's what I decided to do, to leave and be closer to home. Okay,
you were an All-American your junior year at Sacred Heart University. What did that mean to you?
Meant a lot. It meant that I accomplished something that a lot of ball players want to do in their career. So I was a second team my junior year. And like I said, what helped was that I led the nation in rebounding. And we had a really, really good season. We went 28-4.
And also in your junior year, you averaged 16 points per game, 16 rebounds, 5 block shots.
Yes, that was my job. We had the scorers. You know, we had a guy named Carl Winfrey, Hector Olivencia, and another player named Tony Trimboli. 2 20-point scorers and 1 19-point scorer. So I just had the little fill-in right there with 16 points.
I know that one of the things that wanted me to play basketball was watching you being 6'9". We come from a family of 7 boys, 3 girls. I am the shortest out of all the boys. And watching you do something that a lot of big men don't do. You were able to put the ball on the floor, handle the ball very well for somebody 6'9", and you could shoot the ball from at least 20 to 22 feet from the outside. you don't see many 6'9" ball players today who can shoot really from that far.
Well, I remember growing up, with our brother Warren, he always said, be a different big man. And that's good for the big men today. You want to do something different where it can enhance your game. And since I wasn't a big, wide, strong guy, I had to compensate. So if I could take the guy out on the outside, shoot the jumper, or when I could put the ball on the floor and go by him. So it helped out a lot. You
referenced, too, not being a big, strong guy. Back then, when you played, you were probably like 190 or so?
Yeah, 190.
Now you're what?
264.
So a big difference being 6'9" and 190 back then, but you shot the ball well, you handled the ball well. Your senior year at Sacred Heart University, you made the first team All-American.
Yes, I did.
So you stepped it up a notch.
Yeah, I stepped up the notch, made first team All-American, but in my rebounding, I came in second in the nation. So, and we also went, I believe, 20-9 that year. Our year wasn't as good as the junior year, but we did pretty good. Matter of fact, to go back in my junior year, when we went to the small college Final Four, we lost to Randolph-Macon. So that was something.
So you were kind of in our part of the woods.
Yep.
What was that like, losing in the Final Four?
That was a heartbreaker, because you work so hard and you want to go all the way. And when you don't accomplish your goal, it brings you down, but then you have to say next year. And that's what happened. In the senior year, we didn't make it back to the Final Four. We made it to the semifinals. But I had a good career.
All right. You ended your career at Sacred Heart with a record that, from what we know, still has not been broken. You hold the school's all-time rebounding and block shots record.
Yes, 1,009 in 2 years. And the block shots, it was, I believe, 500 the total.
500.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you also played 7 years of pro basketball in Europe.
Yes, I did.
And I know that at one time you were able to speak some of the languages. What languages was that you used to be able to speak?
Well, when I first went over to Germany, my teammates, they all spoke English. But after a while, they said to me that you have to learn German. So they sent me to the University of Heidelberg to learn German. Back then, my German was good. It was fluent. But, as time went by and not being in that country, I lost a lot.
I know that, and James, you can join me on this. We talked about the difference in basketball play here in the United States as opposed to the European League. They play more physical, and you were mentioning earlier that they are more sound fundamentally wise as opposed to the players here in the United States.
Yes, they are, because they always have something to prove. They want to show that they can play this game, and they are very fundamentally sound. You have here now, like you'll see these kids looking at these and one tapes, and they're seeing these guys doing these tricks with the basketball, and it's not fundamental. It's not. You can't do it in the game. But over in Europe, they're fundamentally sound. They are great shooters. They are the best shooters that I have ever seen.
Wow.
Now, do you think they stress the fundamentals because, like in the U.S., the guys are more athletic and they play above the rim? Do you think that's one of the reasons why they're more fundamentally sound in Europe, because they don't play above the rim?
I believe that, because they look at the American athlete and say they're playing on their ability. So you're always going to win when you play fundamentally sound basketball. That's the key. When you have your fundamentals down packed, you will always be effective.
And that leads me back to believe that substance always beats flash.
That's right.
Absolutely. Dre, you, and I call you Dre, it's Andre, but for short, we always call them Dre in my household. Why you are also in Europe, the crowd is it's a different atmosphere. Talk about that.
Well, they're very much into their sports, whether it be soccer and basketball. And the crowd is, whereas they can be violent at times too. The crowd is into their team. One thing is, whereas you notice here in the States, after when you finish a game, a lot of players like to celebrate on the court. Over in Europe at the time when I was there, you leave the court immediately because a lot of the fans get upset and things can happen on the court. So, but they're very much supportive of their team, and they make you feel welcome.
But where is the United States strong at in basketball as opposed to the Europeans? Or the European League, I should say.
I would say that in the States here, it's the ability, the
more athletic?
More athletic, very much very much so. But as you can see how things are moving on in Europe, those players are becoming athletic themselves. Look at the players here. Remember, there was a player in the Jersey Nets who died in a car crash, Petrovic?
Right.
He was excellent. He was awesome. So that's telling you what type of players are coming over here, and they're taking a lot of jobs away.
Right. And that also brings up the point that we were talking about earlier, James, is that United States, we're getting beat almost every year now when it comes to playing in the Olympics.
Yes, our international game, because we went last year. The last time we went out with a bunch of shooters, so-called shooters, and with the flash game and whatnot. And the European teams beat us because they had outside shooting, where we had neglected to load our team properly, where we had a lot of post players and a lot of, they're going to run and gun type play. And when it came down to it, the half-court type of style is what it took to win, because I've been a firm believer that if you can play half-court basketball, you can be in any game.
That's right.
Any difference, Andre, in the coaching?
Yes, very much so. The coaches here in America are the best. They are. They're the best. Over in Europe, they're still learning. I mean, they're good coaches, but they're still learning. But here, back in the States, they're the best.
When you say best, do you think they're best at practice or within the game, X and O wise?
I think both, practice and X and O's, because in this country here, that's what we know basketball, like they know soccer. So, like, if you have a soccer coach over here, say that's an American, I don't think that he'd be effective as a European coach who plays the game of soccer over there. So, X and O's we got it. But bear in mind, these guys over there, they're coming up. You can see it in the NBA. They're getting better and better, the coaching and the players.
Now, I know that you made a salary while you were there, too. So, do they tax you? Because from what I understand, they don't tax. That money's not taxed over there.
No, what happens is that what they will supply you with a salary and a car and an apartment. Now, the money's not taxed, so you would double it. So just to give a figure, say if you're making $30,000, you would say you're making $60,000. But, as when you come back into the States, you got to pay those taxes.
Now, for you, 7 years over playing in Europe and talking about the States, you came back to the States, you became a New York City correctional officer, you just retired. What was it like, first of all, getting readjusted back in the United States and then also going into the Department of Corrections?
Shelter shock. From being over in Europe and having a good time to now coming back into the States and working for the Department of Corrections. What happened was our brother Warren, after so many years, he said, well, Andre, it's time to get a real job. So when I would come back and visit back home, I would take quite a few city jobs to test. I took fireman, police, sanitation. These are good jobs in the city of New York, good benefits and stuff, but corrections came through. So I came home in August, and I was in the academy in the next month in September.
Now, let me make this point, because we have some listeners out there today who may be saying he played 7 years in Europe. What happened in the NBA? Now, you tried out with the New York Knicks.
Yes.
You also signed a contract. But
yes.
There was a situation where you either had to make a decision to go to Europe or stay with the New York Knicks. Talk about that.
Well, what happened back then, Willis Reed was the coach, and I was invited to the Knicks camp. And that's when Michael Ray Richardson came out. And we had John Rudd. These guys had no-cut contracts. There were 2 spots. So they weren't going to take anybody else on that team. You had Bob McAdoo back at the time playing. And I had to make a choice. The European season started in August, and, the NBA starts around like October, November. So I decided to go overseas and finish my career over there. So it was an experience to be in the Knicks camp, to play against players, and to test your ability and to see how you match up with these guys. And I said I could do well in this league. But once I got over to Europe, I just felt at home and I stayed there.
Well, being a European...
Hold that thought, James, because we got to take a break. We're going to take a break. We'll come back with more of the Demetrius Means Sports Show. We'll be right back right after this.
With a timeout on the court, our host Demetrius Means will be back with his scores and more sports for this week. But first, a rundown from our local sponsors.
Bill Hudgens Pontiac GMC has been in business since 1971, offering award-winning sales and service. Hudgens has over 150 new Pontiacs and GMCs in stock or on the way, and over 80 pre-owned vehicles on the ground all the time, many of them GM certified. Great service, great deals, and great people stack up to a great way to do business. Serving the Northern Neck and Middle Peninsula for over 34 years. Bill Hudgens Pontiac GMC on Route 17 in Gloucester. Give them a try before you buy. You'll be glad you did.
Hey folks, are you looking for some great hometown cooking? Then you should go to Lee's Restaurant in Kilmarnock. At Lee's Restaurant, all meals are served with a choice of 2 vegetables and fresh home-style rolls. So go down to Lee's Restaurant. There's free parking around back. Lee's Restaurant, 37 South Main Street in Kilmarnock, where their great hometown meal will keep you coming back for more and knocking on the door.
Beatley Custom Cabinets at 1281 Good Luck Road in Kilmarnock is your source for high-quality custom-built wood and laminate cabinets. They also offer a wide variety of custom countertops, including laminate, Corian, Virginia marble, and granite. Their motto is quality is our business. Stop by or give them a call at 435-2709 to discuss your cabinet and countertop needs. That's Beatley Custom Cabinets in Kilmarnock.
And we welcome you back to the Demetrius Means Sports Show here on Windy 105 WNDJ FM 104.9 on your radio dial. Coming at you live from our Windy 105 studios. Demetrius Means, your host, along with
James Griffin
and
Andre Means.
Welcome back, folks. As before we went to the break, we were discussing a conversation with my brother Andre Means, who was in town. Andre, just the background, is from New York City, played 7 years in Europe. Went to the University of Sacred Heart. He was offered 170 scholarships when he graduated from high school from numerous colleges, I should say. And before we went to the break, James, you were in the midst of a question. I apologize for that. We had to take a break. Go ahead and follow through, buddy.
Oh, we got to pay the bills.
You got it.
Having played in Europe in the 70s, what was it like going into town to go to the grocery store or whatnot? Were you mobbed as a star player, or was it freedom to just go?
Well, no, it wasn't mobbed as a star. Back in the 70s, that's when basketball really in Europe was starting to grow. And people would recognize you, though. I know when I would go into restaurants and stuff, I would get those meals free, but it was a good time. People would see you and they want autographs, and they really show support and stuff. There wasn't a mob like back here, like I said, in the States, because basketball was just coming up.
In its infancy.
Yeah.
So in other words, when you went to the restaurant to get that free meal, you could sit down and eat it and not have somebody at your table with a slipper trying to get it interrupt.
Yeah. And the one thing I do remember, every time you came home from Europe, I always got money from him. So that was a good thing. When I knew Andre was coming home, I said, the money's coming. Show me the money, baby. Show me the money. Andre, I appreciate you joining us this morning. Can you stick around for the rest of the show?
Sure.
Whoops. All righty. Also, we got a trivia question, a couple of trivia questions. This one is a tough one, but if you're a basketball fan, you will know this question. And if you win the trivia question, we have tickets for the Richmond Braves. The first trivia question is, name 5 players who led the NBA in scoring and played for the Boston Celtics. Again, that's name 5 players who led the NBA in scoring and played for the Boston Celtics. If you think you know that answer, give us a call at 1-877-758-9635. That's toll free, or locally at 758-9635. Again, that's 1-877-758-WNDJ and 758-WNDJ. Gary Sheffield has not been disciplined for the New York Yankees after that showdown just a week ago with a fan in the stands. James, Andre, your thoughts about it? I don't think that Gary Sheffield should have been disciplined. Again, Sheffield reaching to grab the ball down in the right field line. A fan reaches over while he was in Boston, elbows him in the head. Sheffield, again, has not been disciplined by Major League Baseball. Your thoughts on that, gentlemen?
I agree, and there shouldn't have been any discipline because it was just a reactionary thing going on. and he committed no crime, so there shouldn't be any disciplinary action towards him. The fan, yes, but I think he was in his just rights for being out on the field. And after having that situation in basketball, he showed a great deal of restraint for being a professional athlete. A lot of athletes of lesser quality would have retaliated, perhaps even reached in there and grabbed him.
Now, you see, I'm listening to 2 or 3 other commentators on TV, and there was also a reporter, which I can't remember his name right now, for the Daily Press, who indicates that Sheffield should have been suspended because he didn't even have a right to push the fan, because he walked over and kind of pushed the guy off. I think that he did the right thing.
It's ridiculous how people want to suspend Sheffield. That's a normal reaction. If somebody reaches out to try to harm you, what's your reaction? Either you're going to swing back or even maybe you'll run. But, because they're professional athletes, some people feel that they can do anything to them. No, you cannot. They're still human beings.
But I guess the question is what people are saying, and you kind of got to agree with it. If you're in that professional arena, you got to try and restrain yourself as much as possible. No?
I think he did restrain himself a great deal because you got to figure out he was reaching for the ball, and this was a whole lot of reactionary stuff. It wasn't like, okay, let me sit down. I got 10 seconds down. I'm going to pop this guy.
Yeah, that's right.
So I say no because it was a reactionary thing. And you're out there reaching for the ball and something brushes you up beside your face, and the only thing out there other than you are the fans. You got to protect yourself because there are a lot of crazies out there, and you don't know how close or if he was coming over the side or what.
Let's listen to Gary Sheffield's reaction. He says it just proves that I was right, Sheffield said before Wednesday night's game against Toronto. He said, I'm just glad I was an example of how to handle that situation without making it worse or hurting the Yankees or any organization for that matter or any sport. I think the guy got it right, and he talks here about, he handled himself the correct way.
He did. He showed restraint.
And that's all you can ask for in this day and age is a little restraint because, like I said, after the deal in the Palace, athletes have really got to be careful how they conduct themselves, and he did a great thing.
However, baseball tickets cost a lot of money, and this Red Sox fan, his tickets were revoked for the rest of the season. Is it fair or is it not?
I think it's fair because he crossed the line. He purchased a ticket. The ticket allowed him to come and view the game, not to take part in it, not to come down on the field.
I agree.
But baseball is, you're looking at 162 games, not even playoffs. So if this guy decides that he wants to go out and get an attorney, he might have a good issue here and win this battle.
I think that they have a policy for the fans anyway that you cannot reach over or extend yourself in a certain manner towards the players. He violated that, so he got what he deserved.
And yes, America is a country of rights, but there's no right to say you have to be allowed to come back into this ball field. He violated whatever privilege he had by getting involved in the actual game itself.
And a lot of and I think you would agree with me. It's no different than you being out in the world and somebody attacks you. These guys, the fans, should be brought up on charges also, in my opinion.
Exactly.
And if you remember a while back, the guys come out of the stands and attack the third base coach on another team. So you really got to be on your P's and Q's out there. And I know he shouldn't be charged like he was wasn't. And the fan losing his seats, he deserved every bit of it. And if it were any way to prosecute the fan, that's what the league needs to do. Because if you start prosecuting them, Demetrius, and you start sending people to jail, perhaps they will think about what they're doing. And again, cut back the alcohol sales. I don't know what part of the game this took part in, but perhaps if they cut back on the sales of the alcohol at a certain point in the ball game, this might not happen.
Well,
and
the
ushers be more mindful of the people out there, especially those on the front rows.
I agree with that, but it's not gonna happen because this is money at the gate, money for the gate. The only time they cut back the alcohol is when something like that happens, and they say the 7th inning, cut all the alcohol. And the other thing is, do you remove the fans further back from the field? Because then you kind of take away that kind of relationship between the fans and the players. So do you move the fans back who are in the lower level, in the box seats, or do you leave things the way they are, or do you put up a plexiglass?
I would stay away from the plexiglass, but I would have more security in the areas where the fans can have access to the players. Because, the security guards, they're trained to observe the fan in the stand, and they can see when the fans are getting a little carried away and start to get out of control, and they can go down there and perhaps talk to the fan, or you need to relax and cool out, or even usher him out before an incident takes place.
No plexiglass for you, Gray?
No plexiglass. It takes away from the excitement for the fans because you want to be close up on the action. Also, as James said, there should be more security in the front rows to protect the players. So, and I think that's going to come about. There should be talks about that going on now.
All righty. So if you want to weigh in that opinion, again, give us a call at 1-877-758-9635 or locally at 758-9635. Again, it's 1-877-758-WNDJ and locally at 758-WNDJ. Again, the trivia question is, name 5 players who led the NBA in scoring and played for the Boston Celtics. That's trivia question number 1. And trivia question number 2 is, the original Dream Team won the gold medal in 1992 Olympics. Who was the only player on that team with no NBA experience? If you think you know that, give us a call. You can win yourself a pair of tickets to the Richmond Braves. All right, in boxing, Iron Mike Tyson says that he will cause a train wreck against his opponent. Tyson coming back. We all know that this guy needs money. Does he have it or does he not have it?
His life is a train wreck right now. Yeah, he needs money, but anybody with any credibility, I can't see paying money to see this.
You know, Mike is he's somewhat through. But I always said this, and I believe this. If Mike would go back to his old handlers, like put personal business things aside and say this is about business, I think he went back to his old handlers, Rooney and Jacobs, because they trained him well and he listened to them. I think maybe he can come out and do some damage.
He's going to have to box now, though, because he can't come in there and just – because before a Tyson fight, back in the day, so to speak, he just showed up and he was going to win because it was that barrage early on and you were done.
Well, the fear factor is gone now. If you remember when Tyson first came out, he was knocking people out left and right. As soon as the bell would ring, he would come right out of the corner. But the fear factor is gone now. A lot of people aren't afraid of him anymore. In fact, other boxers are stepping up and saying, I want to fight Mike Tyson.
Oh, yeah.
It just sounds like it's an easy payday. And who knows what he's going to do when he gets in the ring.
And he's hittable now. So I think that this guy is taking a chance because he lost his last 3 fights within a year's time. And he was knocked out twice. And he was beat badly his last 2 fights. So I think Tyson could be causing himself to get more in trouble.
I do, too. And I think the promoters are setting this up just to see what Mike will do. Because, you have the pre-fight conferences and post games and whatnot. And they get the arguing and they're carrying on. I think it's more of a sideshow than anything else with boxing. Boxing has lost all of its credibility with me.
Yes, boxing has gone down the hill. Plus, also with Mike, I think with other boxers, it's about building up their resume. I beat Mike Tyson.
Good point. That's a real good point.
Is that pre-Buster Douglas or after?
Well, you think this guy's going to go down as one of the greatest fighters?
No, only because of his off-the-field antics and what he did. Because he didn't fight long enough and enough quality fights to be able to go down as one of the great boxers like you could put Ali in.
So nothing left in Mike Tyson's tank. They say when the animal gets hurt, that's when he's more dangerous. So, if Tyson gets hurt, you don't think he still has the power to knock somebody out?
No, because he loses all focus. And as you notice, that people who are really tagging Mike, Mike's jaw is not that tough as people thought. And when people, like you said, when he would step into the ring, he had that fear factor thing going. He would stare people down, and they were afraid of him. Now guys are stepping up, and they know how they can get to Mike's defense. And when they tag him, Mike's always hitting that canvas.
And you made a good point, Andre, about with boxing, the key to I see in boxing is to always maintain control and focus. Because if you get upset or rattled, you can't focus on fighting, and then you're a candidate to get knocked out because your guard is going to come down. If you become angry or volatile, you lose your focus, and that's the end of you in the ring.
Oh, yeah.
So Mike is all washed up, and you think it'll be lights out this coming fight. He's expected to fight Kevin McBride of Ireland.
Never heard of him. If he's a cupcake, Mike's got a chance.
Cupcake with the cream in it. We're going to take another break, and when we come back with the Demetrius Mean Sports Show, we'll talk about Coach Dave Lateo. He says he will turn the program around at UVA.
It's an official timeout. Demetrius Means will return with scores and more after a word from the people we like most around here, the local sponsors of our show.
The Kilmarnock Crab Festival is coming up the weekend of May 13th, 14th, and 15th to educate the public about crabbing and to celebrate all things crab-related. To enter contests to race crabs, pick crabs, cook crab soup, design a crab pot, or to exhibit a craft or business during the Kilmarnock Crab Festival, call 435-7600. I bet you didn't know that crab pots were first invented in 1928 by Benjamin Franklin Lewis of Northumberland County. Since crab pots were invented on the Northern Neck, this new festival is destined to become the signature event in mid-May for our historic area. Watermen and the heritage of crabbing will be the main focus, and sponsors of this event include Wendy 105, which will head up a wine tasting venue, along with Ingleside Plantation Winery in the warehouse of Hometown Lighting at Main and Augusta Street. Call 435-7600 to be a part of this great weekend.
Beatley Custom Cabinets at 1281 Good Luck Road in Kilmarnock is your source for high-quality custom-built wood and laminate cabinets. They also offer a wide variety of custom countertops, including laminate, Corian, Virginia marble, and granite. Their motto is quality is our business. Stop by or give them a call at 435-2709 to discuss your cabinet and countertop needs. That's Beatley Custom Cabinets in Kilmarnock.
And we welcome you back to the Demetrius Means Show here on Windy 105, WNDJ FM 104.9 on your radio dial. Pick up the phone. You don't have to be alone. Give us a call. You don't have to stall. Long distance at 1-877-758-9635 or locally at 758-9635. Again, that's 1-877-758-WNDJ and locally at 758-WNDJ. Before we went on a break, we were talking about Mike Tyson. Tyson trying to make that comeback. Let's just close it out real quickly on Mike Tyson. He loses this fight, he's done. He should hang it up and go home, right?
Yeah, he's done.
You guys said that in unison, so I guess we're all together in this. Okay, let's take a look at the Virginia Cavaliers. Their new coach, Dave Lateo, said that pressure is relative. It's a relative term, and that he thinks that there is no pressure on him. He said he's here to win. He's here to stay. He looked at a couple of the players from last year's team and said that this team will play more defense and they will be more tenacious than ever. And he says the university will be a championship club in a couple of years. But you have to give a guy like this, I would say, at least 3 years to turn a college basketball program around. Guys?
I agree, and yes, I say there is no pressure. 'Cause unlike with the Carolina job, the cupboard wasn't left jam full, so they're going to have to give him some time to bring his players in, his type of players, and get his system taught to the players. So therefore, if he brings in a freshman class, when that freshman, his first freshman class becomes a senior class, then I expect wins and big-time wins against the Big Three on Tobacco Road.
But, you know, it may be somewhat pressure on him because people look at the Ralph Sampson era. And since then, Virginia hasn't done that well. And people are starving for a winner. So he coming into a new program with new ideas and new things, people want him to implement it real quick.
Well, the one thing that is in his favor is that Pete Gillen couldn't get anything out of these guys. Mm-hmm. So maybe with a fresh coach, with a new attitude and a new program and a new system, things will get rolling. But I guess one of my other questions is, if this guy doesn't produce in 3 years, if the program doesn't turn around, do you let him go, or do you keep him and give him more time? Because right now they just finished building a $130 million, 15,000-seat arena in Charlottesville. This thing has got to be paid off. So if he doesn't get the job done in 3 years, do you get rid of him now after spending more money on him and buying his contract out from DePaul for $2 million? Or do you give him longer than the 3 years if he doesn't get the job done in 3 years?
I think you need to give him more than 3 years, because we talked about it on last week's show. If the people at Duke had cut Coach K off in 3 years, look what they would have lost out on. So I think we need to give Coach Lateo at least 7 years to get it done. I think that's fair because you got to give him a chance to get his type of player, recruit his type, and for them to become acclimated with his system. You got to give him a chance because these other guys were used to Pete Gillen. And you know, Demetrius, yourself, when change comes, there are going to be some defections because if he's a disciplinarian and expect those guys to play defense, some of those guys aren't going to hang around because some of them don't want to play defense. And then he's got to be given the opportunity to work his system in.
I agree with that. You have to give him a chance. It's just like you coming into a job market and a new boss comes on board. You have to go with what he wants done. With this new coach, you have to give him a chance to put in play his system of things and where the team can get used to him. And, it takes time. You just can't come into a situation and think you're going to be winners. Like the big problem with New York Knicks, they're always changing every year. They want an instant winner. It doesn't work that way.
So if he doesn't get the job done in 3 years, give him the extra time beyond the 3 years to get the job done.
Yes, like I said, I think he needs 7 years to get it where it needs to be. And then if he doesn't have it there, then you need to think about making a change.
Okay, one of the things that I've been hearing, the talk that's been going on, first black coach ever at UVA. In my opinion, this does not make a difference. The guy is a coach. The guy knows the game. Why they bring this issue into it, I don't know why, but I think look at the guy as a coach. He's coming to turn the program around at UVA. Let the guy coach. Keep the racial thing out of it. Keep the black-white situation out of it. Let him coach. Let him do his job.
And I don't think that'll be an issue unless they were to pull the reins on him short and cut him off like in 3 years. Then they would say, well, you gave Pete 7, 8 years to get it done, and then you had the first black coach and you didn't give him enough time to get it done. I think that'll only play if that's where the university decides to go with it. But I think it's all about X's and O's, and can he get them competitive?
I agree, and it's so sad that we have to put a color title on that. He's a basketball coach who happens to be black. That's it. We don't have to keep saying a black coach, white coach. He's in there to do a job. He's in there to have Virginia win, to turn that program around. Let's leave the color thing out.
And the bottom line is if he doesn't get the job done, he's out the door.
He's out the door.
It doesn't matter then.
Knocking on the door and asking for more.
I guess in college sports, the only color that counts is green.
And those W's.
There you go.
The Benjamins, baby.
Yeah. Because if you get the W's, you're going to get the green.
But, he says there's no pressure on him. There's got to be some kind of a pressure on him. I don't think that he's being honest when he says that, though.
Well, he wants to do well and do well as soon as possible. But I really don't think with what Virginia's gone through under the Pete Gillen administration, there can't be with so much pressure put out there on him.
But, even though when you go into a new situation, there's somewhat pressure, I believe, because you're new there and people want instant results. But like I said, Pete Gilliam, he didn't do a good job. They got a new coach coming in now. So, people want results, and he's going to have a little on him. I believe so.
I agree.
All right, so the bottom line is he'll have to get the job done and go at his pace. And hopefully things will work out for Dave Lateo at UVA. Moving on, looks like North Carolina, the University of North Carolina, is going to lose 3 players. Raymond Felton, Sean May, Marvin Williams. I think Sean May is making a big mistake. James, you're sitting there grinning from ear to ear because you're a Duke fan. I think May is making a big mistake.
I agree, and this might help Coach Lateo get a few wins next year.
Well, I know when James came in, he was smiling about May leaving, so there's something going on.
We talk about these ball players leaving, and some of them are leaving for different reasons. And let's listen to some of this. The reason Raymond Felton, Sean May, and Marvin Williams gave their declaring of the NBA draft was the difference as roles that they played in North Carolina's run to the 2005 NCAA title. Williams said that money that he earns will help his mother raise his 2 younger brothers and take care of her medical condition with the back problem. Felton wants his parents to be able to live into a beautiful, nice home and not to be able to struggle. And McCant says that he just thinks that he's ready. He reached his goals. We talked about this off air before we got on the air. When you have situations and you bring in the situation about Jermaine O'Neal saying the NBA putting a time limit, an age on being able to come into the NBA. When you have a situation like this with this young man, talking about his mother with medical problems, Williams, that is. You know, this is a guy that why would you want to stop him from being able to help his family, you know, to make money? And so with this age thing on this NBA about entering, you have some legitimate reasons why these guys want to go into the NBA.
I'll let you have that one, Andre.
Well, I think that, you know, if you're able to play, then let you go. This guy his family has problems. They need the money to sustain his family and help out medical bills. I think that, fine, sure, let him go. I mean, if you can go into, and we spoke about this, if you can go fight for your country, you know, the guys are going into the military to fight the war, then why can't they go into professional sports?
I guess what I'm saying is that if he's able to go to the next level and perform at the next level, because you hate to see a young man get bad information, come out, and then he cannot succeed on the next level. And if he's financially strapped already, then he's not going to be able to go back and finish his education, which might allow him to go into another field in this country. That's my only concern with it. If the young man is ready for the next level. We talked about last week. I think the NBA should perhaps have some type of farm system like they have in Major League Baseball. And then you could take these young men and help them develop their skills, because we talked about last week how baseball players, they come right out of high school, and if they're good enough, they can go, but they usually get on a farm system so that they can develop their skills. And I think the NBA perhaps might want to go that route also. That way the player is making some change to help his family situation out, and it's not watering down the NBA game with inexperience out there.
And let's look at the other side, because not everybody, and we talked about this last show, that everybody's not a LeBron James. Not everybody's mature on the court and off the court. What about the players who are totally immature, who's been living with mom all this time? Now they come into a situation, they're making millions of dollars. They're able to go at will wherever they want to go. They've got to make big decisions on how they're going to spend their money, who they're hanging out with, who they're dealing with. And this is tough for a young kid coming into a big situation like this. That's the other side of it. A lot of these kids are not ready. They're not mature enough. So this could actually, you know, hurt them because they're just too immature.
Well, I know in the NBA, they have orientation for players when they first come into the league. And I know that also with the young players now that are coming out of high school, they have someone there to guide them, like their advisors, to make sure that they're making the right decisions. But, you know, this is a touchy situation because, you know, there are some players who really need to be set financially. And then there are some who just figure that they're ready to go. Are we really to judge and say, put an age limit or to stop them? Because it's about making a living. If I came out of high school and they offered me $2 million, I think I may go.
I think the average man would have went on for $2 million.
And that tells us why, you know, the kids from North Carolina is leaving. And, you know, you mentioned, Andre, about, you know, the NBA having these, they're kind of like a, what you would call it's not a get-together. I'm having a
orientation.
Orientation,
Yeah.
Thank you. It's an orientation where all these players who are new, rookies, come in. They go to this orientation. They teach them about the do's and the don'ts. Watch out for the women. Watch out for this and that. Yes. But you and I both know that when you're immature at that age, a lot of them listen, but a lot of them don't.
Yeah,
that you've got to walk the walk sometime in order to learn by your mistakes.
Yes, but experience teaches some tough lessons, and some of them you don't recover from. So we really want to be careful with that. Now, I agree they need orientation. I'm almost like they need handlers, like to just handle them to, you know, that there are curfews for, you know, like freshmen in the NBA that you can't be out at such an hour at a night, and you need to be at place A and B until you get yourself where you can handle these things, because the situations arise on you so quick, and if you didn't have that good foundation at home, it doesn't take but a second for your name's all over the New York Times or Sports Center, and it's not always going to be a good thing.
And, you know, James, you said the key word, the foundation. If they don't have that foundation at home, then they're going to run into some problems. Maybe they should come to New York, get a correction officer, put some handcuffs, and handcuff them to one of the players until they get a certain age, and they can let them go.
All
I just know they need some type of guidance because I hate to see a young man go down the wrong path. And we talk about the money. I don't know what the NBA salaries are for the guys who come in at early. I don't know I know they have a cap in the league, but I don't know what the salaries are. But if you say it's $2 to $3 million, I know for a fact that I cannot live off 20 years off of $2 to $3 million. So I've got to be able to last. And if you don't last in the game, then you're going to need that education to try to do something else. Or you may be saying, do you want fries with that?
They should put a stipulation that if you come out of high school, then you have to finish your education.
All right, we'll finish this conversation. We'll take a break. We'll come back with more of the Demetrius Means Show right after this.
Okay, sports fans, let's take a radio timeout on the field. More of the Demetrius Means Sports Show and his guests after this cue from our local sponsors.
Bill Hudgens Pontiac GMC has been in business since 1971, offering award-winning sales and service. Hudgens has over 150 new Pontiacs and GMCs in stock or on the way, and over 80 pre-owned vehicles on the ground all the time, many of them GM certified. Great service, great deals, and great people stack up to a great way to do business. Serving the Northern Neck and Middle Peninsula for over 34 years. Bill Hudgens Pontiac GMC on Route 17 in Gloucester. Give them a try before you buy. You'll be glad you did.
Hey folks, are you looking for some great hometown cooking? Then you should go to Lee's Restaurant in Kilmarnock. At Lee's Restaurant, all meals are served with a choice of 2 vegetables and fresh home-style rolls. So go down to Lee's Restaurant. There's free parking around back. Lee's Restaurant, 37 South Main Street in Kilmarnock, where their great hometown meal will keep you coming back for more and knocking on the door.
Well, check it out. When I was young, I always wanted to play basketball for the NBA.
And we welcome you back to the Demetrius Means Show here on Windy 105, WNDJ FM 104.9 on your radio dial. Give us a call. You don't have to stall. Pick up the phone. You don't have to be alone. 1-877-758-9635 or locally at 758-9635. Again, that's
music got me moving in there.
We're about to have a party this morning on the Demetrius Means Sports Show. Once again, our first trivia question of the morning. Name 5 players who led the NBA in scoring and played for the Boston Celtics. That was number 1. And number 2 was the original Dream Team won the gold medal in 1992 Olympics. Who was the only player on that team with no NBA experience? If you think you can answer those trivia questions, give us a call. You could win 2 pair of tickets to the Richmond Braves. As Carter Mills brings us back with that nice groove song. Nothing like music to get you pumped up. But before I went to the break, Dre and James, we were talking about, you said they should put a stipulation, Dre?
Yeah, put a stipulation where they have to continue their education if they come out of high school. I think that would be good.
Okay, James, and your thoughts?
Good move. I agree because it'll only benefit the player. Because that way, if he blows that knee out, he's got something to fall back on. Because you know how it is. Unless you have those big insurance policies, if something goes down and you can't play, so what have you done for me lately, League?
That's right.
Absolutely, and I believe we've got a phone call. Caller, welcome to the Demetrius Means Show.
Good morning.
Good morning. You're on the air. My ex who's calling?
Stanley.
Stanley, what's happening? How can we talk to us this morning?
Doing pretty good. Just wanted to make a comment about the Coach Leto at the UVA.
Okay.
And you all talked about the race issue. And I think the race issue was not so much toward Coach Leto, but more so toward the university itself. When that's the first one for UVA. So it's not directly toward Coach Leto, but the university. In that they're catching up with the times, hopefully.
Okay. Well, there's a lot of talk. If you've been listening to some of the cable shows, there's a lot of talk about him being the first black coach, which I totally agree. It wasn't anything meant toward him, but they make a big deal about him being the first black coach. And as we indicated earlier, it's nothing to do with whether he's white, black, or whatever. Just let the guy coach.
Right.
Demetrius, this is NC State Stan. I know who this one is.
Okay.
So, what are your feelings on the exodus at Chapel Hill? Talk to me.
Well, they still be able to beat Duke one day.
I doubt it. Now, they may get their ugly stepsister, the Wolfpack, now.
Hey, and I just had called last couple of times. James been beating up on my teams, beating up on Kobe, beating up on State.
You mean the GM of the L.A. Lakers?
Well, you know, the Shaq must be having a party and celebrating now that the Lakers aren't in the playoffs.
Yeah, well, he's nursing his knee, so anyway, so we'll see how far he gets. Well, I think he'd be okay with his knees, though. He's just taking time off that he didn't get like he usually get in L.A.
Yeah, he usually takes part of the season off, and then he comes back around playoff time to play.
So how the Celtics going to do, James?
Well, the experts are picking them to go down 4-2 in the series. I think they might be able to hold their own.
Okay. Vince Carter doing pretty good right now.
Yes, Vinsanity, he's doing real good. I'm surprised they finally got it. Look like it's meshing now, and that's good for the ball club. I don't know what they're going to do in the playoff round, but that's good for him.
Well, Vince Carter is finally playing because he laid down in Toronto because he did not want to be there. Now that he's back, now that he's in New Jersey, this guy somewhat has been rejuvenated, and that's only because he didn't want to play in Toronto anymore. And I think that's wrong from the standpoint, Stanley, that you're being paid a professional contract to play whether you want to or not. Now, because you're not playing because you're with a team that you don't want to be with and you don't want to fulfill your contract, I think that Vince Carter was wrong in that aspect.
I think Vince said if he can lay down and they win 23 games, or he can play hard and they win 25. So I guess lay down would be a little bit better than putting everything out for 2 more games.
Well, you got to look at it too that the motivation for Vince Carter is Jason Kidd.
Yeah, good. I think that's a good tandem. Good tandem.
Well, let me ask you this, Stan. Are they going to win a game against the Heat?
Yeah, they'll win a game. 4-2.
Just one?
4-2.
I'm looking at a 4-1.
4-1.
All right, Stan, you think you can answer any of our trivia questions?
Well, I'm not going to mess with that one bogus question about the Boston stuff, so I'm not even going to mess with that.
And you're on my Celtics now.
Okay, we'll try number 2. The original Dream Team won the gold medal in the 1992 Olympics. Who was the only player with no NBA experience?
I'm thinking Tim Duncan.
Oh, no cigar. You could have won yourself 2 tickets to see the Richmond Braves. No, it was. Sorry, I'm not going to tell you. We'll have to save that trivia question for next week. But, hey, we appreciate the phone call.
Well, nice hearing from you. And I'm listening to you sometimes on Saturday morning. Sometimes I'm moving around and I can't get to make a call, but was able to get in today just to tell James to get off my players and off my team.
All righty.
Back off a little bit.
Okay, we appreciate the phone call. Stanley from Middlesex. All right, gentlemen, we're talking about the NBA here. Let's just go right to it. Let's look at the Western Conference playoff situation. You got Phoenix and Memphis. I got Phoenix because anytime that you have a Steve Nash who can control the offense, and you got a number of other players there, great players. You got Stoudemire. I'm going with the Phoenix Suns in that
I'll have to agree with you. They played good all season. They're number 1. I got to ride with them.
Phoenix, got to go with him. Like you said, Steve Nash.
All right, you got San Antonio and Denver. You got the big boy back and Tim Duncan. Got to go with San Antonio because I think Duncan is unstoppable.
I have to agree with you again. I think big always beats small, and if you got an inside presence in the playoffs, you got a shot.
Plus, they won the championship, and they've been a playoff team.
And before I move on, Tim Duncan, this is a guy, in my opinion, who doesn't get that much credit that he deserves. I mean, I think this guy's one of the top centers in the NBA. Might be not physical as a lot of the other centers, but I think he doesn't get the credit that he deserves.
I think that's because he doesn't play in L.A. or New York. If he were in one of the big media giant centers, I think he'd get the props.
Well, I'm going to make a call and have Duncan come to New York, and he'll get all the props he needs.
Okay, Seattle against Sacramento. You know what? I'm picking Seattle. I really don't think Sacramento is going to be effective. Got to have Chris Webber down the stretch, and he's no longer there. He's a 76er.
Yeah, I agree with you again. I think Sacramento's beat up. They're limping into the playoffs. I don't think they're going to be very competitive at all.
Seattle.
Seattle?
That's
Why?
my choice, Seattle. Sacramento, like I said, Chris Webber's not there, and he was the heart and soul of that team. Because I remember when he first went out to Sacramento, they were nobody. And he turned that team around.
Dallas and Houston. I'm going with Dallas, Dirk Nowitzki, and company. I think that Dallas, they're doing very well. They're always playoff bound. They just have not been able to get to the finals. I think they may get close this year.
I'll agree with you. Again, I'll have to go with Dallas because I don't think Yao Ming and the gang are going to be able to get it together.
I don't know. Tracy McGrady, I tell you, he's on fire. He's hungry, and he wants to win.
But he's got to make everybody around him better. He can't carry the load by himself in a 7-game series. He's going to have to get all the support.
So McGrady in the same situation as a LeBron James is what you're saying?
Yes, but I think a lot of it is McGrady just takes it on himself to be the scorer. I don't think he likes to dish the rock.
And why I bring that up, LeBron James not happy in Cleveland. He's been carrying the load for so long now. Showed a lot of frustration leaving the court last week, took his jersey off in front of 55,000. They say he's a free agent at the end of the year. You think LeBron will leave Cleveland? He's possibly New York Knicks bound is what the talk is.
Let's get him. Let him come to New York. I'm telling you, if that happens, New York will be on fire. But I believe LeBron James will stay in Cleveland because the administration there will do everything they can in their power to keep him happy.
Did the administration move too fast, James? They get rid of Paul Silas. The owner sending notes about play this person, that person. Paul Silas stuck to his guns and said, I don't operate that well, so they fired him. Did they make a big mistake?
I think so. It's like the owner went in a dark room with a knife and just started cutting. It didn't matter who he cut or what he did. And I think he hurt the team because he and Silas were having a good relationship.
And you know something? It's very important that if you hire a coach, let him do his job. You know, you're in the administration, you got a coach, let him do his job. Don't send notes down to a coach and tell him who to put in and who not to play. That's not acceptable.
That's like grammar school stuff to me.
Yeah, and just look around in other leagues. Dan Snyder in Washington hadn't had any success because he wants to try to run it from the booth. Jerry Jones in Dallas trying to run it from the booth. Al Davis in Oakland trying to run it from the booth. Let coaches coach and players play.
Absolutely. Boston against Indiana. I say Boston. Some say Indiana.
Celtics.
Oh, well, you know, this is Reggie Miller's last year, so I don't know. That's a close one.
Reggie Miller, does he go in the Hall of Fame? This guy just broke, or I should say passed, Jerry West's record, scored 25,189 career points.
No doubt. I think he needs to go.
He's going.
He's going?
He's
First
going.
ballot.
All righty. Chicago Bulls against the Washington Wizards. I don't care who wins, and I really don't know who's going to win that one.
I'm going to take the baby Bulls because of all the hype. It'll be a good story for the league.
I think I'll take the Bulls, too, because I saw them on TV. And they play well.
All right, gentlemen, they always say that the NBA is not NBA time until playoffs. You'll see more action now than you do during the regular season. Do you agree with that?
Oh, yes, I do.
Yeah, the play will intensify because of the finality that's going to start entering in the situation.
And when you come to the playoffs now, that's when your season really begins. You know, everything else, what you accomplished before, it's good, but now it means nothing because if you can't win those games in the playoffs to get to that championship game, then that's it.
All right, quickly, the best two coaches in the NBA.
Gosh, that's a tough one. I'm going to give it to Doc Rivers because he's a Celtic man, and that's all I can call Doc Rivers.
Larry Brown?
Larry Brown, he's a constant winner. This guy, wherever team he goes to, he turns it around. And the teams, they play for him. So I got to go with Larry Brown.
A lot of talks in the wing saying that Jeff Van Gundy, very good coach, learned from Pat Riley. He's one of the top coaches in the NBA. You leave Jeff Gundy out.
I just couldn't remember, but I'll go with Larry Brown and Van Gundy because they are good coaches.
He's right. That's right. I forgot about him, too. But when he was in New York, he turned that team around. And when Van Gundy went to Houston, I'm sorry, was it Houston?
Yes.
Yes, he turned it around. So got to go with him, too.
Absolutely. Just a quick program note. Next week, I'll be talking to Dave Clawson, the head football coach of the University of Richmond. He will be on next week. Andre, appreciate you coming down and joining me. And James, as always, I appreciate having you on the show.
Good to be on the show. Before we close, NFL draft today. Alex Smith, is he going number 1?
All righty, Andre, any final thoughts?
Also, I want to thank you for inviting me, Demetrius, and I want to give a little shout out, as we say in New York, to Lancaster Middle School. I had a good time there when assistant principal Pat Means was giving me a tour around. I want to say hello to the children, especially to Jason. This kid was very impressive.
Okay, for Jason Griffin, Andre Means, and Carter Mills, this is Demetrius Means saying take care of yourself. I'd rather be talking to you, not about you.
That's a wrap on another Demetrius Means Sports Show. See you here again next Saturday morning at 9 o'clock for local sports scores and more for the Northern Neck and Middle Peninsula. Brought to you by Southern Electronics, your Radio Shack dealer in Kilmarnock, by Wachovia Securities, by Beatley Custom Cabinets, by Lee's Restaurant, and by Bill Hudgens Pontiac GMC. Thanks for being a fan, and we'll see you here next Saturday for the Demetrius Means Sports Show.